And now, Gukesh D, he releases the Kraken. What is going on, guys? In this video, Gukesh plays one of the craziest rook sacks that you will ever see in a game. It just happened literally today in day 2 of the 2025 Croatia Super United Blitz tournament. It's Ivan Saric versus Gukesh D. Let's jump right in. All right, in the game, Ivan opening 1e4 best by test, and Gukesh, what does he do in this game? Does he go 1e5? Oh no. 1c5? Oh no. He plays the Caro-Kann Defense in this game. Here we go. Gukesh plays the Caro-Kann when he's trying to really mix things up and throws the opponent off guard. So you know he's in a fighting mood when he plays the Caro-Kann, intending d5 like this. So we have d4, then d5. Very standard stuff. And now white has a ton of options here. E takes d5 is playable. Knight c3 is good. Knight d2 is good. f3 is good. But instead of those, Ivan plays the absolute main line for white, and really, in my opinion, the only line that really gives white good chances to fight for an actual edge out of the opening, and that is the move e5, the advanced variation. All right, in response, Gukesh, he follows the main line as well. Bishop f5, a key Caro-Kann move in general, and from here, black's plan is simple. He wants to go e6, getting that famous pawn triangle, getting all of his pawns on light squares with the light squared bishop outside the pawn chain, and from there, just continue developing like this, easy peasy lemon squeezy. All right, from here, white, knight f3, developing so far so good, and black does go e6, again getting the famous pawn triangle like this, all the pawns on the light squares with the light squared bishop outside the pawn chain. So far so good. Now, Ivan, how does he want to play the opening here? Well, he goes for the main line as white, again, bishop e2. This is known as the short variation. White's plan here in the opening is very simple. First you go e5, then you go knight f3, bishop e2, and castles, getting your king to safety on the king side, and from there, you find a way to continue pressuring on the queen side typically, and there are 2 different ways to do it. I'll show you those in just a moment. All right, from here, Gukesh, his plan is simple, knight d7 and knight e7, very standard ideas in the Caro-Kann. So we have knight d7, castles, and then knight to e7 like this. Now, at this point, Ivan is castled. It's time for him to find some sort of plan, and now there are 2 main plans in the advanced variation of the Caro-Kann. If you play this as white, there are 2 main ideas you can play. The first one, the newer idea, involves going for a fast c3. And typically, you would go for a fast c3 whenever black goes knight d7. Just trust me on that. And from there, the idea is usually something like a4, a5, b4, gaining space, or you can also go c3, then knight to a3, knight c2, knight e3, pressure the bishop, and so on like that. Now, the other idea, which is also very strong, more of the older idea, but still very good, involves going, let's see, it's knight d2, then b3, then bishop d2, then rook c1, and then usually something like a4, a5, or c4, or there are even ideas based on knight to e1, bishop d3, f4, g4, and so on. So white has a lot of ideas here, but in the game, Ivan goes for the newer idea, that is c3, bolstering d4 like this, either intending a4, a5, b4, or the knight to a3 plan. I'll have to wait and see which one it is. Now from here, Gukesh, h6, very standard stuff. The idea being is twofold. First of all, Gukesh giving the bishop a very good retreat square on h7 if it needs it later in the game. Beyond that, black also setting up the idea of the fast g5 advance, which gains space on the king side. And keep in mind, black's king, it has not castled yet, whereas white's king has castled. That means black, at some point later in the game, he might be able to start a kingside attack, perhaps with g5, queen c7, rook g8, h5, g4, and so on. Is certainly possible, is certainly one idea. All right, Ivan, knight to a3. Developing so far so good. And now Gukesh plays the first really surprising move of the game. He goes for the fast c5 advance. Now, c5 is a typical move in the Caro-Kann, also in the French defense, the Queen's Gambit declined, and many other openings. So it's very thematic, but you have to time the c5 advance just right in this opening. Otherwise, you can fall into a lot of problems really, really fast. Now, it turns out this is not the best time ever to play this. I think Gukesh knows that. I think he's trying to mix things up here. Turns out instead, simply developing perhaps queen c7 or a6 or bishop h7 or g5 first is a little better, but c5 played in the game. Now, the drawback of this, white can simply take on c5, then go knight d4, pressure the bishop, and white does get at least a little bit of an initiative. Now, instead, in the game, white goes knight to b5. Now, if you like puzzles, pause the video right now and try to figure out what the idea of knight b5 is. If you're at least like 372 ELO in online chess, you should be able to spot the idea here. And the idea is pretty simple. White here is threatening checkmate in one move. Like, let's say black goes a6, poking the bear. Then knight to d6 is literally checkmate. The king is just smothered. It has nowhere to go. Black pieces are everywhere around it, and that would be mate. So obviously, Gukesh D, being a world champion, you don't become a world champion by losing to mate in one. So he spots this. Knight c6 was played. The point being now, of course, d6 is covered by the bishop, and black is going to be just fine. Now, from here, white has a few different ideas. The strongest idea, and this is very complicated stuff, very, very complicated, involves going c4. The idea is very simple. White here has already castled, whereas black is at least 1-2 moves away from castling. Therefore, it's in white's best interest to open up the center of the game as quickly as possible, and c4 certainly fits the bill there. Those lines are just ultra complicated. Don't worry about it if you're a beginner, but that is the main idea here for white. Instead, Ivan goes for a different idea. Bishop to f4. Okay, very interesting. Guarding d6 indirectly with the bishop. That way, if the knight ever does go into d6, basically suiciding itself, then if black takes and white takes back, then the bishop contributes to the control of the d6 square. So very clever idea by Ivan Saric. All right, now Gukesh, he is ready for a fight. He goes a6, literally begging white to jump in with the knight to d6 like this, at which point black will take back with the bishop. And that is what happens. We have knight d6. The knight jumps in. There is no time for knight to a3 ideas. That is just too slow. In for a penny, in for a pound. You have to jump in. Here we go. Knight d6 is the move. Black obviously takes. Obviously, king e7 is not an okay move here. You don't play that. So instead, bishop takes, d6 played in the game. We have e takes and then castles. Now, here, the big imbalance of the game, well, there are two essentially. Number one, white does have those two Bs. That's very important. Those two bishops, they are a very powerful asset. Beyond that, of course, we have this ludicrous pawn on d6. So this pawn is likely going to fall later in the game. However, for the next 5-10 moves, black is going to have a hard time regaining the pawn, meaning even if it is lost later in the game, it's going to cause black some headaches, at least in the short term, trying to win it. All right, now, from here, Ivan finds a clever idea. Knight to e5, not a very hard move to find, but actually pretty strong. The idea is very simple. If black takes on e5 with either of these knights, then white takes back with the d pawn, and the pawn on d6 is now supported. So, very simple stuff. All right, in the game, Gukesh, he trades on e5 like this. Knight takes e5, white takes back, and then another strong, typical Caro-Kann style move. It is the move f6. Simply attacking the base of the pawn chain, and if e5 falls, then d6 will likely fall as well in the near future. Now, Ivan, he takes on f6 like this, e takes f6, and black takes back with the queen. Queen takes. Now, of course, that bishop on f4, it is vulnerable. Black has some ideas based on like bishop c2 ideas and so on. Therefore, bishop g3, retreating is obviously the right idea here. Now, Gukesh, rook a d8, developing, so far so good. And Ivan, again, this pawn on d6, it's going to be lost sooner or later, and therefore you kind of have to do something right now to get counterplay. If you don't, black's going to consolidate, is going to go, I don't know, queen to f7 and e5 and rook takes and so on, and he's going to win the pawn. Therefore, you have to find some way to pressure the opponent right here, right now, and he finds it. Hats off to this guy. Queen to b3 is the move, pressuring maybe the only weak point in the entire black position, and that, of course, is that pawn on b7. So white here immediately targeting it. Now black in response, rook d7 defends the pawn on b7. A good, if I can draw arrows correctly, chess YouTube, a good move. Now what is white's follow-up? Black again seems to have everything under control. Black's plan is simple, something like queen to f7, e5, and rook takes, and you win the pawn. But Ivan finds the idea, queen to b6. Okay, what is the queen doing? Well, first of all, you're attacking c5. Second of all here, you're threatening the move bishop takes a6. The point being, if the b pawn takes the a pawn, the knight falls. That is the idea. Removing the defender of the knight, that being the b pawn. In response, Gukesh, he finds a simple way to parry both of the threats. He plays the move c4, defending the c pawn, also cutting off the bishop like this. That bishop is going nowhere. Now, rook a d1. Lining up the rook on the very important d file, a good move. And here black goes knight d5, jumping in, and very importantly, trying to cut off the defense of the pawn by the bishop. And the knight is doing a very good job at that. And beyond that, the knight is also threatening knight d3, jumping in, clogging up the d file, and just being very active in general. But Ivan finds the right counter, b3. And don't worry, all of this does lead to the insane Kraken-style rook sacrifice later in this game. It's coming up in just a few moves. Just stick around till the rook sack. You will not regret it. All right, black, rook c8. Defending c4. White was threatening to capture on c4, and black defends. Very good stuff. Now, from here, Ivan goes rook f to e1, and now there are a lot of potential ideas in the air based on perhaps moving this bishop, perhaps capturing on c4 with the discovered attack of the rook on the knight. Therefore, the bishop could capture and so on. So there are a lot of tactical ideas in the air here. In response, Gukesh, he captures on b3, c takes b3, we have a takes, and then rook takes c3. The rook flies down, wins the pawn, and for right now, Gukesh, he's up a pawn. He's simply up material. But what does Ivan Saric do? Does he sit around and say, woe is me, and wait? No, he does not. He plays a tactical shot that I alluded to just a moment ago, and he plays the move bishop takes a6. Okay, what is the idea? It's simple. There's nothing to deflect over here on the queen side. However, you open up the attack of the rook on e5, threatening bishop takes e5. Again, from here, there's no attack on e5, but after this move, bang, there is. And keep in mind, this is a blitz game, so both sides blitzing out their moves here. But Gukesh D, he spots everything. He knows exactly what is going on right now, and he finds the brilliant response. He releases the Kraken with the move rook takes g3. What a beautiful, beautiful rook sack. Now, what is the idea? It's simple. If you do nothing, white will capture on e5 like this, forking the queen and the rook. So that is not an option. Of course, beyond that, the bishop on a6 is hanging. So what Gukesh does here, he gives up the rook for one minor piece. Rook takes g3, brilliant. And then after h takes, he gets the second minor piece. B takes a6, and then of course from here, that a pawn will fall. But now Gukesh, he has these 2 extra minor pieces versus the extra rook, and this is clearly in black's favor. All right, Ivan Saric, rook c1, the rook slides over, then knight to f7, the knight drops back, and pressures d6 like this. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Now, queen b8, the queen flies back. King to h7, rook c7. Ivan being very active so far in this middle game. We have rook d8, defending and attacking the queen on b8. The queen has to get hightail out of there, and it does. Queen b6, the queen slides back, but now rook takes d6. The rook finally falls, and beyond that, the rook defends a6. Gukesh up 2 minor pieces versus the rook, plus the extra pawn. This is just too much. All right, queen to a7. The queen slides back, pressuring along the 7th rank. Not a bad idea, but now bishop g6. Gukesh, he's got everything under control. He simply slides back, defends the knight. This guy is just crushing here. All right, rook e3, then knight g5. The knight now entering the game. Rook e to c3, then d4. The d pawn is marching down the board. That pass pawn must be pushed. Rook c1, it goes again, d3, f4, and then it goes again, d2. Gukesh ignoring the attack on the knight, and from here, Ivan Saric, he simply resigns on the spot. There is nothing this guy can do, even if he slides over to, say, the d1 square. From there are too many ideas. Knight e5 is one, e4 is one, threatening g3, defending the pawn, and so on. It's just too much, and for this reason, Ivan Saric, he resigns on the spot to Gukesh D and the Kraken. Rook takes g3. Wow, what a game, guys. All right, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, go ahead and smash that YouTube like button. It helps me out a ton in terms of reaching more people. And while you're at it, go and comment down below. What did you think of the Kraken in this game? I'm calling this rook sack the Kraken for now. Really brilliant stuff by Gukesh, especially in a blitz game. It's amazing how fast these guys find these brilliant ideas. But anyways, that is all for today. And as always, I wish you the best of luck in your chess improvement journey in 2025 and beyond. And I'll see you in the next video.